from Inlet Studio. Hope everyone's having a blessed day. This video I'm doing today would be part 2 of last week's video where I presented to you as a class or as a lesson some of the things I used in my own practice to find deeper levels of flexibility and, like I called the other class, more like basic building blocks of yoga. So if you remember last class, or you didn't get to take last class, we did what I would term posterior chain opening, which is posterior stands for your back body chain opening. And we used a yin yoga practice for the first 30 minutes of the video to actually work really deeply into some flexibility training. I'm going to today flip that and I'm going to work on your anterior chain, which is the same idea, otherwise known as yin yoga again. So long static holds, super relaxation in the legs, regular breathing, not this constriction of the throat yoga breathing or ujjayi breath. And I have a wall exercise that I'm going to start us with today. And from there we'll do the second half of the class. We'll take the work we've done to the front part of our body and we will produce some basic yoga movements again that are going to be you'll be able to get a little deeper into these postures simply because of the long static holds that we've done in the yin portion of the actual video itself. So you can see I'm placed kind of close to a wall here. I'm not going to move my mat. I'm going to actually just go ahead against the wall with no mat. I suggest you put your mat against the wall to do this. I actually have a blanket here. This also works if you want to put something down on the floor. You can use a blanket or a mat, either way. And basically the blanket or the mat would go directly against the wall. I have some yoga blocks here. Again, you don't need yoga blocks. You can always use pots, pans, books, but it's a great tool, something that my ego when I first started practicing yoga didn't really allow me to use. And then as I got more into the practice of yoga and my ego kind of got out of my own way, I started to use props in my poses and I got a lot of benefit from the use of props. So if you don't own yoga blocks and you're a yoga practitioner, it's probably like a pretty cheap investment and something you should think about. But if you don't have blocks, like I said, you can use pots, pans, anything like that just to put your hands on. And in this instance, you may not even need them. Remember when I talk about these yin long holds, sometimes it's nice to be able to prop yourself up on something. So I actually have the blocks out today. I'm going to be using them a little bit. If you don't have blocks, like I said, I'll give you some alternate ways to handle the poses without the blocks. So that being said, we'll start our yin practice today against the wall. And I'm going to show you a couple different entries into the pose. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my body against the wall into tabletop position. And then I'm going to work on the right side first. So I'm going to take my right knee and I'm going to put my right knee in between the wall and where the floor meet. You can see my right knee is stuck there. And I have my knee on a blanket just to give myself a little bit of cushioning here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left foot and step it in between my hands. Now, that may be difficult for some people to actually get their left foot to step in between their hands with their right leg already on the wall. So my suggestion is that if that's going to be a problem, you do that first. So step the left foot in between the hands first, and then go ahead and bring your right knee into the wall. I tend to find that it's harder for me to get my knee against the wall if I do that, but if you're constricted by a really tight right side, you won't be able to get yourself to the wall like I did before, so there's your alternate entry. Now, I'm going to have you from that point, go ahead and start to press into your left foot and push your butt up against the wall. And what you're going to feel here, there's going to be many different levels of where your body's able to go. So I've been biking quite a bit lately, and my quads are very tight, and my anterior chain is very tight all through this part of my body. So what I'm doing here is I'm just simply trying to press backwards into the wall, and I'm going to try to hold this position for about a minute. Notice here I'm not even using the blocks, I'm just taking both of my hands, putting them on top of my left knee. So some of you guys will be here, right, where both butt cheeks are stuck to the wall. Some of you guys will be way out here because it's so painful in the right quad and it's just so tight. In a perfect world, I would have my arms up over my head, grab opposite elbows, and then I would press my low back into the floor. So I'm taking my pelvis and tilting it under. So I'm taking my tailbone and reaching it down for the floor. And this is going to exacerbate the stretch in my right quad. So now I've been here almost a minute or 30 seconds or so. So I'll stay another 30 seconds or so like this. It is very difficult to get that tailbone to start to reach under. You can feel this big, huge stretch right down that front side of my right leg here as I'm doing this. And we're almost done with this part of it. About like a minute, call that a minute. So next part I'm going to do, leave your foot stuck to the wall. Take your left foot and walk it about 6 inches or so out in front of you. Now, from here, I want you to kick the wall with your right foot. Place both your hands on top of your left knee. Draw your shoulders back and simply release your hips forward. And this is now, again, I've moved the stretch now, which was in my quad. I'm moving it up my leg into my hip flexor a little bit. Sorry, the block's in the way. I'm moving it up my leg into the hip flexor a little bit. And like I said, I'm really tight in the quad, so this is probably a relatively good example of where you're going to end up here. But you really want to let the hips flow forward in the pose, and you can actively kick your right foot into the wall. Here I am actually touching the blocks to hold myself up. So you guys, as you practice, I see how open you are. You'll be able to take your hands, reach over your head, and then just try to press the wall with your hands. Now it doesn't feel very good for me today to do that because I'm so tight in my anterior chain. My front body chain is really tight, so that's not vibing for me, so I'm not doing it. But if you're really open and you feel super open here, you can go ahead and reach back over your head and press your body against the wall. Press your hands away from the wall. Like I said, that's not me today, so you're gonna find yourself where you find yourself. So I'm here for we're almost a minute now into this. I'm feeling this big, super deep opening. You're gonna see this is gonna translate really well as soon as I step back onto my mat. Nothing fancy to come out. I'm gonna just draw my right knee away from the wall. Blessedly, thank God I'm not doing that anymore. I'm actually gonna move the blanket out of the way for the left side because I was sliding around a little bit. And this is gonna be tougher on my left knee, but it's gonna feel better for me, so I can really feel myself dialed into the wall with my butt. Here I am stepping my right foot in between my hands. And then again, oh wow, that does hurt. That's a lot of my left knee. So here I am now, I'm tighter in my left leg, so I'm having a difficult time even getting my butt to touch the wall here. So here I am just pushing back, pushing back, pushing back with my right foot, trying to drive my shoulders back into the wall, trying to get my butt to touch the wall, which it's not doing. That's okay. This is where I am today in my practice. Again, I want you to now think about taking your tailbone and reaching it down for the floor. This is really going to pull the stretch right up your quad. I'm going to have to adjust my right foot here so I can find a little deeper stretch. And it was a very bad idea to take the blanket out from under my knee because this hurts a lot, so I'll probably put the blanket back. It would be a good idea, but I'm already here for 30 seconds. I might as well suffer the rest of it out. Again, as I kind of sit here, I open up, I can really start to press both hips into the wall. In a perfect world, I'd be able to reach up over my head, grab opposite elbows, and press my entire back into the wall, low back, mid back, upper back, back of my neck, back of my head. This is a big time opening to my left quad. Ooh-wee. We're here another 10 breaths or so. Okay, so second part of the pose, and again, like I said, I'm already suffering in the left knee, so I'm not going to bother with the blanket, but you're going to go ahead and walk the right foot forward about 6 inches, and then you're going to really let your hips drop forward. And this is where these blocks can come in handy. I can get my hands, put them on the blocks, and really just be able to rest down there. If you don't have blocks, you place your hands on top of your right knee, kick that left foot into the wall, and draw your shoulders away from your right knee, and you'll feel this, oh my God, your left leg is like cooking right now. Mine is cooking right now. We're here for a minute, so we're trying to hang on to this position for a little longer. Super tight on this side. Shaking all over the place. Again, if you're really open, you'd be able to reach up over your head, press your hands into the wall. Not me today, I can tell you that. We're almost done on the left side. And I'm just really letting that left hip drop as much as I can, deeply into the right hip. I feel compression in the right hip too. And then go ahead and peel yourself off of the wall. And thankfully we're away from the wall now at this point. Come onto your mat. You can pull your mat back off the wall. we're going to come into a very similar position, but now we're going to take what we just used against the wall, and we're going to kind of dial in something in what they would term like just a simple lunge. So in order to see where to start your lunge, I want you to imagine a 90-degree angle on both of your legs. So you can see I have a 90-degree angle on my front leg and my back leg. So I know for a fact here that if I just drop my hips forward, my right knee is going to track way too far over my right ankle. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my left knee back by like 6 inches or so. And this is where blocks really do come in handy. So you're going to want to move the blocks back towards your hips so you have something to rest your hands on. Now remember, this practice of yin yoga, where I'm really trying to open up in these long, deep holes for here 2 minutes, is this complete relaxation of the leg. So my left leg is totally relaxed. My right leg is super relaxed here. I'm not engaging anything. I'm not trying to draw my hips back or anything like that. I'm trying to just keep my hips nice and square, and I'm just letting gravity do the work to take my hips forward. Now, based upon what happened at the wall, I've moved the stretch from my quad up into my hip flexor, and now I'm really stuck in the front of the left hip. It almost feels like my femur bone is going to stick out the front of my leg, which you won't, I promise. But the more I can relax, the more you can just start to feel this like super deep anterior chain opening. So opening the front chain of the body with this movement here, or lack of movement. Again, I'm here about a minute now. We're going to hold this for 2 minutes. Like I said last week, the reality, and we're stuck by time here, so I'm not doing it for as long as I normally would, but in any given yin pose, I would hold that between 3 minutes to 7 minutes, sometimes even 10 minutes. And again, because of the time of the video, I can't do that for you today, but you can hold these poses for a really long time, and you'll see that the body just kind of gives up just a little bit more with every second that goes by. My hips are like floating a little further towards the floor, and I can just feel this big opening to my left leg. It's like really coming open the front of my left leg. Super deep opening at this point. That's about 2 minutes on that side. So now the front of my left hip is very open. And what we do here is we do all right side, and then we're going to switch over to the left side. So you see there's like 3 different movements I'm going to do on the right side. Then I'll move us off to the left side. I'm here now, let's call it 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, so I'm ready to come out of the pose. Now, watch what happens. As soon as I go to draw out of my left hip, woo-wee, there's a lot going on there in front of the left hip, so give yourself a second. Just straighten your right leg for a second. And you just want to feel yourself come back out of that left hip, out of the front of the left hip. Now, next pose is going to be what we would term in our yang practice or in our vinyasa practice. This is pigeon pose, and you guys are very used to pigeon pose. But don't forget, everything in yin is relaxed. So I'm going to have a really relaxed front leg and back leg in this pose now. Normally I would tell you, really engage your left leg here. And you can't really see it, but my left leg is really not on at all. I have no engagement to the left leg or the left glute. I'm just totally relaxed. Unlike pigeon in my vinyasa practice, I'm not going to come down to the floor here, meaning I'm not going to take this down and lean way forward. My goal, now I've moved the stretch to this part of my body, to the right side of my body. The left side was already worked in that first pose, dragonfly pose in yin yoga they call it. Here they call sleeping swan pose. I don't know why they have different names in yin yoga and vinyasa yoga, but they do. And you'll notice I'm never going to just bring myself down. What I'm doing is I'm trying to just lay weight into my right glute while everything is not engaged. So although it may look like I'm engaged here, meaning my muscles are like flexed, I'm not at all. My legs are really loose, and depending on how open or closed you are, you can bolster yourself and put something under that right hip. So if your hip is way up in the air, put a blanket or a block under there. Just don't come forward. Just stay here and kind of just let the body deep dive into the right hip. And you should just feel a nice kind of long, static opening to the right hip. Here, I'm not feeling it as much as I really want because I'm kind of open already in this part of my body. And so I'm going to actually bring my hands a little further forward so I can push a little harder with my hands and move my right hip a little further back. Again, don't forget, your left leg is completely off at this point. And we're in this pose for 2 or 3 minutes. So I didn't look at the clock, but I'm going to go by ear, as they say. Let's say we've been here a minute or so, so we've got about another minute in the pose. Again, if you can, relax, relax, relax. Try to feel the outside of the right hip. You don't have to have your front shin parallel to the top of the mat to feel this. All we're doing here is stacking up our body over that right hip, really letting that opening occur slowly. Long static holds this right side. Let's call that a minute and a half now. No kind of crazy yoga breathing at this point. All I'm doing is breathing normally. The more I can get my weight to stack on top of that right hip, the more I'm going to feel that right hip opening. I've already done the work on the left side, so my left hip is very, very open in the front from what we've done against the wall and in that first part of the, what they call dragonfly pose, that lunge. So it's allowing me to really sink my weight down into the right part of my hip. And we're going to call that 2 minutes or so there. Let's go another 10 breaths. Like I said, blocks can come super handy. If you're really tight, you can always use the blocks to press yourself back. You can use the block under the right butt cheek if you want. Now, to come out of the pose, remember I told you last week there's nothing super pretty about these transitions in yin yoga like there is in vinyasa yoga. So we're going to come into a pose that I'm just going to roll onto my right glute, and I'm going to just bring my left leg forward. Now, with my left leg forward, I'm going to turn towards you guys so you can see this a little bit better. With my left leg forward, I'm going to take my right knee and I'm going to put it on top of my left knee. Now, this is Ardha Gomukhasana, or half cow face pose. I actually don't know the yin name for this, but there's a different name anyway. It doesn't really matter. What I'm doing though, I'm relaxed. You can see I'm not flexed in my leg. My foot is not pointed or flexed. Everything's super soft. And now I'm going to take this rounded position over my right knee, and I'm going to try to tuck my chin into my knee. And this is going to help me kind of open up a little bit more as I kind of hold this little forward fold. I know we're working on the anterior chain, the front body, but this is a really logical movement from where we just were in sleeping swan pose or pigeon pose, where now I have the front of the left leg really open, and I'm taking this rounded position down, opening my mid-back, low back. And I'm trying to draw myself forward and just sink down into the pose and let yourself settle here. May not look like mine, you know, you may be way up here. It's also another place you can have blocks to help hold you up. And this is just a nice little opening that helps us get into this next twist, where we're going to be using a twist to open some of the front body up. So we're here 2 minutes. Let's call this a minute and a half. I have a really tight left hamstring, and because I'm so not engaged in my left leg, I don't even feel my left hamstring at all. I'm really working outside right hip here. And again, this kind of wraps around to the front. This is why I call this part of the anterior opening that I'm doing today. So although it may feel like you have a really tight left leg, eventually you'll come to see that this pose is very good for the outside of the right hip as it draws around to the front of the right quad. That's about 2 minutes in the pose. And again, remember, we're doing all right side first. So ease your way up from there. And I'll show you this one directly from the side. So all we're going to do here is we're going to take a spinal twist, but a very gentle spinal twist. So I'm going to take my right foot, stack it over my left knee. So now I've lifted my right knee off of my left knee. I'm going to take my left arm and wrap it around my right leg. And I'm going to take my right arm behind my back. I'm going to start this seated twist. Now, remember, everything is relaxed here, right? So as I relax into the twist, I can start to feel like I'm getting this opening without really pushing or pulling anything. So I'm not working super hard here. I'm just here for a while. And it is the time that I spend in the pose that is going to keep me opening deeper and deeper as I kind of sit here for 2 minutes or so. Like I said, you know, I'd love 3 to 5 minutes. I just don't have time on this video to give you that much. You can always just stop the video, spend an extra minute or two, restart the video. If you want to do just a yin practice, you can do these poses for longer. But I'm getting a nice opening. Again, I'm trying to wrap that opening around the front of the leg, feeling it all the way where it starts to wrap and touch me in the back of my body. So it's like a little add-on from last week. Keep twisting. If you're really more open, you can always take that left elbow outside the right knee and just hold yourself in a twist here. Now I've got a beautiful twist on my back. You can notice I'm not leaning back here. I'm trying to kind of create almost like a second spine with my right arm that I'm going to twist around, and I'm almost finished with this pose, so we're almost done here. Just a few more breaths. Remember, those legs are super relaxed, everybody. And I'm getting a twist without really pushing too hard into the twist. Just feeling all that open. I can feel this, believe it or not, all the way across the front left side of my body as I reach around for the twist. I'm not just twisting in the back, I'm finding that right up from my left hip, the bottom hip, all the way across as I twist. And we're about ready to come out of this side. Like I said, there's nothing pretty about the transitions in yin yoga like there is in the other yoga that we practice or vinyasa practice. So now, on to the left side body, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and step right over into this left side opening. So go ahead and come back onto your hands and knees. Take your left foot and step it in between your hands. Make that 90-degree angle with your legs. Again, I'm going to grab my blocks for this. Make that 90-degree angle with your front knee and your back knee so you know where you're starting from. And then I'm going to use the movement backwards of the right leg, 6 inches maybe. We'll see what feels good. 8 inches maybe. 10 inches maybe. But you want to just go ahead and find a super relaxed right leg, right glute is turned off, no tension in the glute. Now I'm feeling compression into the front of the left hip, and I'm feeling a big front hip opening on the right. Again, you don't want the knee to track too far over the ankle. You need to protect that knee. I got my blocks handy for me because today I'm feeling very tight. So I'm keeping my hands on the blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can always take your hands and place them on top of your left knee. It's just, can you relax everything a little bit more, right? And now, from this relaxed leg position, can you take your shoulders and move them back, back, back? And you'll see that the more you move your shoulders back, the more front right hip you're going to feel open. So we're like a minute into the pose already, and I can feel like almost like my right foot's going numb because I'm so deeply into this right side stretch. Super tight today. It just depends on the day, right? How do you feel? It's a little bouncy. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to fall over in the pose. That's good. That means I'm super relaxed in the legs. If you don't have any blocks and you don't want to put your hands on your knee, you can always just let those hands just relax down, kind of like almost reaching them for the floor. Move your shoulders backwards. Again, I'm lucky enough to have some yoga blocks with me today, so I'm going to use the blocks to continue that movement backwards of my shoulder. We're about a minute and a half, almost 2 minutes into the pose, so I'm like pretty deep into the pose. One thing I'll warn you to not do is to allow your back foot to sickle into the center of your mat. So if you notice, my right foot is directly behind my right butt, right behind my right knee, and my right big toe is pointing straight behind me. It's not pointing in towards the center of the mat, nor is my right leg folding in at all. That's going to take the stretch away from where I want it. So it's really important to keep that nice straight line on both sides. And here we're almost finished. I guess we're probably finished at this point. I'm just going to see if I can relax for another 10 seconds or so, just a little bit more opening to my right hip. You may notice on this side versus the other side, because we opened the left hip flexor up so much first, you're feeling compression like crazy into the left hip flexor. So left side is lucky because we did the right lunge first. I'm getting even a deeper stretch into the front of my left hip. Maybe super compression on that left side. So like I said, it's tough to come out of these poses because you sit there for so long. Normally I'd be 5 minutes in the pose. Just ease your butt back. Let that body come back to square one for a second. Reset. Feeling very shaky in the hips at this point. That's just tough work. Go ahead into your sleeping swan pose from here, or what we call half pigeon. Go ahead and let that left knee come down by where the left wrist would be. Again, super relaxed in the legs. Okay? And there's no fold forward in our pigeon today. All I'm trying to do is use my arms to press my weight backwards into my left hip, my left outside glute. And again, this just opens the front part of the body because I'm working from this upright position. You're going to feel like it's much more to the side of the hip than underneath by where the hamstring catches us a lot of times. I'm looking back from my back leg to make sure I haven't moved it and it hasn't folded towards the center of the mat, so it's still directly behind me. This is a tendency, you might have to move that leg because the legs are not engaged. They kind of just go wherever they feel like, so you have to kind of boss them around sometimes. So now I'm feeling a little more open. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring that right knee back even more, sit up a little taller, sit right directly into that left hip. All my weight is really centered over my left hip at this point. Although my chest is forward, the movement is of the left hip backwards. So I'm trying to roll and externally rotate my left leg here as I come even deeper into the pose. That's like a minute and a half. Let's go for another minute or so here in this sleeping swan pose. Now, some of you guys won't feel it as much as like regular pigeon pose. So if you're not feeling it, see if you can take that relaxation to like the next level, right? So you're really like so relaxed in the hips, so relaxed in the legs, that it just takes the outside hip and just really dials you in with that kind of feeling of uncomfortableness. Is no other word for it. I just feel uncomfortable the whole time in these yin poses. I don't want you to be at that point in any kind of pain, but I want you to like live in discomfort for 30 minutes. And this is where I made strides in my flexibility practice, 100%. I was really willing to do the work that's not so quote unquote sexy, not so active. It's these long static holds, and here I am now I'm going to call it almost 2.5, 3 minutes into this pigeon sleeping swan, this left hip, and my left feels pretty good today. I'm pretty open, so I'm going to swing off onto my left glute. You can just feel the front of that right leg is just getting super open. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So now we're going to do the opposite here. Now the right leg swings forward. And again, I'm kind of angling myself so you can kind of see this from a better angle. I'm going to take that left knee and I'm going to wrap it on top of my right knee. Remember, my legs are super soft here, so everything's relaxed. This leg is relaxed. This leg is relaxed. And I'm going to go ahead and start to round my body forward over this right leg now. And again, you may have such a tight hamstring that this feels like a posterior opening or a back body opening. That's fine too. We need all of it, and this is a great pose for that. But for me, the rounding of the spine and the tucking of the chin onto the knee is like super important. So I can just really start to feel like this whole side is coming open. My whole side, left side body is coming open. My back is opening because I've now opened the front of my body a little bit. I'm getting into this like deeper kind of fold here. And we're here for like 2 minutes. I know I'm talking an awful lot you through this. Normally in my practice, what you try to do is get into the pose, stop talking, and just concentrate on that feeling of wherever you're feeling discomfort, try to relax into that discomfort. So for me, I can feel this a little bit uncomfortable under my left leg, which is a little over, which is a leg that's stepped over. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find some relaxation in that leg, so I can go ahead and like go a little deeper into the pose. And like I said, I had an injury to my left hamstring, so this is my right hamstring that's on the floor now. And so in this, if you look at compare the two sides for me, I could really honestly, if I wanted to, bring myself like way, way forward and round, way over here on this side, because there's nothing stopping me in the back on the left, like it is on the left side. But so anyway, you're rounded here or here. Like I said, I feel this outside left hip opening. I even feel now this compression into my right hip because of the work that I just did in both sleeping swan and dragonfly pose or the lunge pose. And like this is a little different in today because we're doing one side and then the other side. So you have a bunch of rights and then a bunch of lefts kind of sequenced together here. So it's a little bit different than we're used to. I'm about to come out of the pose. We're all about to come rolling up and out of the pose. So here I am, rounding my spine up, rolling out of the pose. Take your left leg. Maybe I'll face you guys so you can see what this would look like from the front. So from the front, I will have that left foot stacked. Now, if you prefer, you don't have to keep the right leg straight. I'm going to show you a different variation on this side. You can take it as half-seated spinal twist. You can take the right foot, tuck it up, over by the left hip, take the right arm, reach it around the left leg, and here I am. Now I feel a lot of compression in the front of my left hip. I've taken my right leg completely out of play. And you can do either one. You can keep the right leg straight, you can keep it bent. I'm just trying to show you two different ways to enter the pose. Now it's just a spinal twist, but with no action. My legs are not engaged. I'm only holding myself up with my right arm here. My left arm is super loose. And if you get a little deeper into the pose, you'll take that right elbow outside the left knee, and you'll just start that bigger twist here, big spinal twist now. And for me personally right here, I'm feeling this like massive compression in the front of the left hip, that the knee is up in the air. So that's like really getting kind of pushed the ligaments together as opposed to stretched out long. So I'm doing both. I'm stretching the ligaments and I'm now compressing the ligaments as I twist. And mine is finally let go now. I don't know about yours, but mine is finally let go in the pose. And I'm here, twisted. Maybe I can take a little bigger twist on this side than I did on the other side. I'm just more open in this part of the back. Again, keep those legs nice and soft if you can, please. We're about done with our twist at this point. About done with our yin practice. We got one more pose to finish up with. I want you to twist yourself back to center. You can stretch both legs out in front of you. This is my probably favorite part of this part of the sequence. So the last part of the sequence, so that we have this anterior opening. Again, remember today's front, trying to get that front body to open. Basically, we're going to come into that diamond-shaped pose with our legs. And again, unfortunately, sorry, I don't know the name of this one in yin yoga. Actually, I don't know the name of this one either. So that's not true. Supta Baddha Konasana. You're going to lay down on your back. Very easy. Right? You're going to go ahead and bring your feet into the shape of a diamond. And then just relax your legs as much as you can. And we're going to just sit here and allow the inside edge of the leg and the inside edge of the hip to come open. So relax. Last part of our yin practice today over here. Supta Baddha Konasana. Again, I don't know the name in yin, I'm sorry. Just relax. Try to see if you can find those little sticky spots in your legs where you might be holding on to tension. Breathe your way into that relaxation and let it all go. As you go here, you'll see if you sit here for 5 minutes or so, you'll see your knees go from like position 1 where they're high up in the air. Eventually your knees might even come and get down to the floor because you're just waiting, you're just kind of allowing gravity to do work and push your knees down. This is a pose you can really use almost every day in your practice. Go ahead and see if you can relax a little bit more. This is one of those ones that it's really hard to feel when your body does come more open. You'll just see that your legs just start to like open towards the floor a little bit more, open towards the floor a little bit more, and you'll feel your low back kind of wanting to lift up off of the floor. Go ahead and let your low back settle a little bit into the floor so this takes the stretch and puts it right into the legs. We're here for almost 2 minutes now, so this is one we can sit in for 20 minutes while you're watching TV or something like that, and you really feel like, I'm finally starting to feel like a little bit of an opening now after like 2 minutes of relaxing. Finally, your legs are starting to like open up on their own a little bit. And I'm just gonna throw one like bonus yin hold in that I use that has had, I think, paid the most benefits. So start to ease your way up. You can take your feet together for a second so you don't have to come right up. Take your knees together for a second, and then I'm just going to sit up for a minute. I'm going to come and face you guys now on the mat. And I know we're going a little bit longer than the 30 minutes on this anterior yin opening, but I think it's important. You can always go to one of my other crazy videos if you're feeling like you need to get beat up for the day. But this is called frog pose. So you're going to take your legs, generally starting in tabletop position. You're going to start to move your knees wide, right? So maybe right here for you, maybe it. I work on this pose quite a bit, and I've worked on my flexibility, like I said, quite a bit. So for me, I'm not going to feel this unless I really start to open my knees wide. So I'm going to have to spread my knees pretty wide to get into the pose. Now you want your bum in the same direct line as your knees here. And then I want you guys to keep your arms straight in the pose, and then try to relax and allow the body to come down, and you'll feel the final opening to the inside part of the legs. This is the final little bonus yin hold. And we're just going to hold this one for a minute. If you're not feeling it, push your butt backwards a little bit, or change the tilt of your pelvis. You'll see if you tilt your tailbone down towards the floor, you feel your hip flexor more. If you stick your butt up in the air, you feel your groin more. If you just keep it neutral, you're going to feel a little bit of both. Try to relax. This is such a horrible pose. In a perfect world, my heels are directly behind my knees, and you can see that I've kind of got that to happen here. Get another 90-degree angle on the legs for today. And we're just going to hold another 3 or 4 breaths. This is the final opening to the front body. And we'll see if we can use that in our movement practice. We're going to move around for about 25 minutes after this. See what kind of openings we got. All right, now coming out of frog pose is crazy. It's not easy. So what I do is I lean forward with my hips. I draw my heels towards each other, and I just try to wiggle my way out of frog pose as best I can. There's really nothing interesting. No easy and interesting, definitely, but easy no to get out of the pose. So there you basically have what I would term like an anterior yin opening practice, and then the front of my body feels like quite open actually. I'm going to go ahead and work my way into the vinyasa part, the movement part of the practice. Now that I have my hips like nice and open and the front of my body nice and open, you're going to see we're going to get into some pretty deep lunging sequences today with some twists. We're going to put together the yin practice into this vinyasa practice. So go ahead and step into tabletop position. Hopefully before you started my video, your wrists are already warmed up. If not, stop the video, go through one of the wrist exercises that I've given in the past, and just make sure your wrists are nice and open. From tabletop position, I want to go ahead and take an inhale into cow pose, soften the belly down, lift the chest and heart, and exhale, round your spine. You should just feel all of this kind of across the front of your hips, where we really worked hard today to find this big hip opening. We'll go through a few cat-cow movements here. Inhaling and exhaling. I like to inhale into cow and exhale into cat. As you exhale into cat, it's so you can pull your belly button in and up and really round your spine. 2 more times. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale into cat pose. Here we will now come into our yoga breathing. So I want you to close your mouth. I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm talking to you, but we're going to take the tip of the tongue, stick it to the roof of your mouth, step your body back to plank position. From there, draw your hips into the air, take downward facing dog. Go ahead and find the inside edges of your hands. So I'm lifting the pinky side of my hand up so I can find the weight of my index and thumb knuckle. Make sure your feet are about hips distance apart. And then go ahead for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Just start to pedal your feet out a little bit, feeling into your hips. Feeling into your back body. Where are you tight? Cue up yourself in down dog here. Drop those triceps down towards the floor. Okay? Pull your belly in. Extend your tailbone long. Take a few breaths here in downward facing. I'm going to go ahead and really relax my head. Look for my belly button. Yeah, there it is. Still there. Still there. Get nice extension to my low back here because my hips are open. See if you can get your heels to push down towards the back of your mat. If you have tight hamstrings, go ahead and bend your knees. That will take a little bit of the stress out of the pose and allow you to straighten your low back nice and straight. From here, we'll start to move our bodies a little bit. I want you to take an inhale. Take your right leg in the air, 3-legged dog. Bend your knee. And just let that hip come open. Drive your right shoulder down. Try to lift the right knee up as high as you can into the sky. You should feel like from frog pose, where we open up the inside edge of the leg. You should really start to feel it there. Your right glute is helping you work here. We're just going to hold this for a breath or two. Come up onto the ball of your left foot. Now draw your right knee to your nose as you round forward. Step your right foot in between your hands. Lower your left knee down to the floor. Interlace your hands, such as this, and then press your palms up towards the sky and drop your hips. You're going to feel big time front left hip here. Maybe some compression finally into that right hip flexor. We're going to work into this pose for a few breaths here. 3. Drop your hips. 2. Reach your hands to the sky so your shoulders protract. Reach up. 1. Release your hands down to the floor. I want you to frame your front foot. Today we're going to go ahead and straighten the right leg. We're going to take that left hip and stack it on top of the left knee. We're going to draw our heart forward and out over the right leg. Engage your right quad. Push your right heel into the floor. And then actively draw your right hip back and push your left hip forward. Now I'm getting into a little bit of opening to the back of my leg, starting to shake a little bit. That's just a damn habit apparently. Tight, tight, tight. Happens. Good. We're going to go ahead and rebend the right knee. I want you to frame that front foot with your hands. Step that left foot to the top of the mat to meet the right foot. Let the body come down and fold here. Inhale, half lift and lengthen your heart forward. Stick your butt out. Exhale, fold down again. Inhale, sweep the arms to the ceiling. Exhale, hands to prayer. Inhale, sweep the arms up. This time a little bit more of a back bend. Feel the front of the body open. Exhale, nice flat back as you dive down towards the floor. Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift, lengthen. On the exhale, simply plant your palms and step your right leg back to a plank. Okay? From here, we're going to press right into a 3-legged dog with the left leg up and immediately start to open that left knee up on top of the right hip. So push the left knee up to the sky. Feel that edge of the leg opening, the inside part of the leg opening. Feel the left glute helping you push back into the right hip. Use the strength in your arms to push your right hip back, back, back. Lift your left knee up, up, up. Hold another breath or two. Notice how your left shoulder wants to open. Don't do that. Push your left shoulder down. Come up onto the tiptoes on the right foot. Draw your left knee into your chest. Step your left foot in between your hands. Lower your right knee down to the floor. We're going to do the same thing on this side that we do on the other side. So I'm going to switch my fingers. So I'm going to relace my fingers, interlace my fingers, and put the other funny thumb on top. Press your arms up towards the sky, and really start to drop your hips. Again, don't let your right foot sickle into the center of the mat. So your back leg may want to float into the middle of the mat. It's going to take you completely out of the stretch and you're going to twist, right? You don't want that. You want the right foot right behind the right knee. And then go ahead and press those shoulders up towards the sky. Feel the big time front right hip opening here. Big time compression to the front left hip. We're here 2 more breaths. Push the arms up. You can go looking for those hands if you want. 1 more breath. Oh boy. Hips are open. Release the hands, frame the front foot. Go ahead and step nice and gracefully to the top of the mat. Right foot next to the left foot. Let the body come down into a nice deep forward fold from there. Pull the belly in, reach the tailbone up and around. If you have tight hamstrings, your knees will be bent here a little bit. Mine are kind of feeling a little bit open. So inhale, half lift, lengthen your heart forward, stick your butt out. Shoulder blades move back. Exhale, fold, second time, big time fold, let the head go. Bend your knees a little as you press into your heels. Inhale, sweep your arms up, reach up. Hands to prayer center of your heart. Inhale, sweep up into a big old back bend here. Here we go again, trying to open the front side of the body. Engage your glutes. It's hard to talk when you do this. Engage your glutes. Exhale, forward fold, a nice flat back will dive down. Inhale, half lift, lengthen. On the exhale, plant your palms. We're going to step, I should have stepped my left leg back first, but step your left leg back. Now step your right leg back. You're in plank pose. Now we want to use up dog to our advantage today because we've got this nice opening to the hip, so get ready for that. We're going to come forward into chaturanga first, and then we're going to go ahead and sweep into up dog. You're going to see we're going to hold on to up dog a little bit today. Get those thighs up off the floor. Get those shoulders moving back. Reach the crown of the head up. Now engage your glutes. You can really feel the front of the body, like just really opening around the front hip here. Work, work, work. We got 5, 4. You can almost see my arms shaking. I'm pushing so hard into the floor. 3, 2, 1. Roll over your toes. Come on into down dog from there. We'll take like 5 breaths in down dog. See how we're doing. Extend those shoulders nice and tall and long. We want to be nice and extended in our down dog practice. Use an internal spiral of your thighs now. You might have more room to do that than you're used to based upon the opening that we did in the beginning of class today. Can you get that tailbone to extend nice and high? Should look like there's a point up there somewhere, I hope. Take your chin, go looking for your belly button or your thighs. Wrap those triceps under. A few more breaths in down dog. This really does become a resting posture. I know it doesn't feel like that in the beginning of a practice, but one of the places I really got the building blocks of my practice was really working on my downward facing dog. Come on now for a 3-legged dog. We're going to take the right leg in the air. Square your hips this time. 3-legged dog. Take your right knee. Bring it to your right elbow. And just try to lift it up as high as you can up into your right shoulder blade. You'll feel this is that hip flexor being open allows you to kind of bring it up a little higher. Press back into the 3-legged dog, nice and square. Go ahead and round your spine, knee to nose. Step your right foot in between your hands. Lower your left knee back down to the floor. With your inhale, I want you to sweep your arms up. And I want you to go ahead and turn left arm forward, right arm back. So here I am, opening up into this kind of twisted lunge. Right hand's gonna ride down the left thigh. Left arm reaches up. And I'm gonna go looking for that left hand. Now I feel this massive opening to the front left side of my body here. We hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rotate your hands back to frame your front foot. Tuck the toes on your back foot. Take your back knee off the ground. So here the back knee's lifted. I'm going to go ahead and take my right arm and peel it open. Keep that left heel pointing up towards the ceiling here. Reach up. Look up. Hold. 5 breaths. 4 breaths. 3 breaths. 2 breaths. 1 more. All right. Frame the front foot. Step back to plank pose. Take an inhale. Chaturanga, exhale. Again, we're going to use that up dog for 5 breaths. So go ahead into up dog. Roll the shoulders back. Really try to draw the pelvis under. Engage the glutes. Reach the crown of the head up. Don't reach your chin up. Reach the crown of your head up. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Use your core. Roll over your toes. Downward facing dog. Take a breath or 2. Press the heels back and down. Spiral the thighs in so your heels kind of disappear behind your toes. You can see your heels, you're not rotating your thighs in. Here I am for a few breaths just to reset. Now, same thing on the left side. We take the left leg in the air, 3-legged dog. We take the left knee, bring it out to the left elbow, and then use the strength in the hip flexor to lift it up to your left armpit or shoulder. Hold there a few breaths. And then smooth back, 3-legged dog. Left knee comes into the chin. Step the left foot between the hands. Soften the right knee down to the floor. Untuck the toes on the right foot. It makes it easier to get a deeper bend into this front right hip. Big openings to the front today. Sweep your arms up. And then immediately start to twist. Right arm forward, left arm back. As I get into the twist here, now the left arm goes down to the right thigh. Right arm reaches up, up, up. Here I am, dropping the right hip. Now I want you guys to work on the left heel here too. Pull the left heel back, and you'll feel an even bigger opening to the right side. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get that right hand back onto the floor, right next to your left heel. Tuck the toes on the right foot, get the right knee off the ground now. Peel the left arm open. Here I am, holding here in this twist for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, I'm going to frame my front foot, step back to plank, take an inhale, chaturanga, exhale. Now, up dog again, working this front body. Try to pull the belly forward, engage those glutes, holding here for 5. Reach the crown of the head up for 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll over your toes, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in, leave your mouth open and let it go. Full breath in as we dig into our down dog again. Full breath out. Basic yoga postures. This is what I used. All of these little movements here to find a deeper opening in my practice. Get to that next level of my asana practice. Slow, deep, long holds. Here I am in this movement practice now, and I'm about my 5th breath here in my downward facing dog. Now, because we have the front of the body open, we're going to use that to start to take a little bit of a back bending practice. So I want you guys to come from the bottom of the mat to the top of the mat. How am I going to get there? I'm going to jump. So you can walk or you can hop to the top of the mat. Look between your thumbs, bend your knees, keep your arms nice and straight. Inhale, exhale, float to the top of the mat. When you reach the top of the mat, I want you to sink your seat and bend your knees. Come on down into chair pose. Draw your shins back, lift your chest. See if you can drive the hips even further back for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. I'm going to go ahead and let my butt come down to the floor. Hope that was easy. So from there, go ahead and stretch your legs out in front of you. Going to roll down onto the back. Take your hands, reach for your heels, take your feet out about hips distance. Now you're going to see, because we have this anterior chain opening today, as we start to come into a back bend practice, which is we're going to finish with a couple of back bends here, you're going to have an easier time. So if you've never been in wheel pose before, this may be your day. I want you to really concentrate on how open you feel in the front of your body. This really allows for a back bend to happen. Everybody thinks that, like, if you can't do a back bend, it's because you're tight in your back. The reality is that you're tight in the front of your body, and that's why you can't back bend. So I'm going to give wheel pose a shot here. Before I do any wheel pose, first thing I'm going to do is take bridge pose. So I'm going to lift my hips, roll my body from shoulder to shoulder, interlace your hands underneath you, draw your heels back towards you, press your hips in the air, maybe higher than you ever have, into bridge pose. Hold here a few breaths. Keep moving your chest towards your chin. Ease your way down. Keep a little bend in your spine there. Don't let the spine flatten down to the floor. So from here, I'm going to pull 2 more back bends. Like I said, if you've never had a wheel practice, today may be your day. We may have just opened up those hips enough through what we did in our yin practice to come up on into the opening. If you're not going to get up into wheel, you're going to do 2 more bridge poses. That's fine too. Here I am, ready for wheel pose. I'm going to take my hands, bring them by my ears, put my fingers right back towards my face. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, press up. It's hard for me to breathe when I do this, so excuse me already as I try to talk while I'm doing a back bend. Press yourself up into wheel pose. Feel that big opening to the front of the body, right? So now I can start to walk my feet away from me a little bit, bring them closer together, and really start to straighten my legs. And I feel this nice deep back bend because my front is so open. So here we go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ease your way down. Bring your feet back to where they would be for bridge pose. So remember in wheel, I walk them further away from me than I normally would. Set up again. We'll take one more back bend together. I'm going for wheel. You've got 2 choices, wheel, bridge, or actually 3, none of the above. If it's none of the above, draw your knees into your chest. Last back bend today. Go ahead and take those hands by the ears, fingers back towards the feet. Use that front body opening, press yourself up into the air, straighten your arms, and then go ahead and walk the feet a little further away from you. Pretend you have a block between your thighs. Squeeze your glutes on. Straighten your legs. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2. Extra credit points. 1. Take your head and press it through. Come on down. Keep that little curve in your spine. Wiggle those hips down into the floor a little bit. Now to come out of our back bending practice, remember we had that nice big front body opening there. We want to just draw the right knee into the chest. Go ahead and draw the left knee into the chest. I got both knees drawn in. I'm going to rock a little on my sacrum from side to side. You should feel like you can get your knees kind of closer to your body than you're used to because we did that nice opening to the front of the hips already in practice today. So go ahead and squeeze those knees in nice and tight. I'm going to take my chin right up into my knees. Good, release your knees please. Set your feet flat on the floor. Go ahead and set your feet up for bridge pose again. This is like my final front body opener that I love. So I'd be able to scratch the back of my foot with my middle or index finger here. Now, directly walk your feet out to the edges of your mat from there. So it's almost like your knees are knocking into the center of the mat. You can almost touch your knees together in the center of your mat. This is not the pose, I'm just telling you where to set your feet up to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of my knees and I'm going to drop them to the right. Both knees are going to drop to the right. I'm then going to take my right foot, put it on top of my left knee, and pull my left knee down with my right foot. I want to look out over my left shoulder, twisting to the left. I'm drawing my right foot down into my left knee, and I feel the final kind of work or opening being done to the front of my left hip. Holding here a few breaths. Got 2 sides to do, so come on back to center. Again, your feet start at the edges of the mat. This is a good width for most people. Drop both of your knees to the left. And find out now here which side is more open. Take your left foot, put it on top of your right knee or your right quad, and draw your right knee towards the floor. You're going to feel the final opening to the front of my hip. I'm going to go ahead and look for my right thumb and twist my body to the right. Don't lift your left shoulder, just look to the right. This will help you take your right hip down. Bigger opening to the front of the right hip. Ease your way back to center. Come on, stretch your legs out to the corners of your mat. We'll come into our final resting posture, Shavasana. Squeeze the shoulder blades together underneath you. And I want you guys to just take your hands and put them on the front of your hips, right where your hip bone starts. And just kind of relax that as much as possible. So shake it a little, relax the legs. You did a lot of that front hip opening today, right? A lot of anterior chain opening. And then just settle down into your mat for Shavasana. Hands are relaxed. Feet are relaxed. Face is relaxed. Alright everybody, thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Like I said, that's a very different kind of video than I normally do, and this is going to be just the only two in the series for now. I did what I would call Basics of Yoga Yin 1, which was last week, which was a posterior opening. I did Basics of Yoga Yin 2, which would be the anterior opening. I worked a lot on your hip flexors today and on your quads, hopefully allowing you to get into a little bit bigger back bend than you're used to. Next week we'll go back to our normal format where I'll be doing more of a movement practice for you. But these are videos that you can do kind of over and over again. Just it's that important of a part of my practice where I was able to use these long yin holds to find flexibility and ease and work my way to some deeper poses. So hope all that worked for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Namaste.